An update to AREDN firmware version 3.18 starts right now. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the beach. My name's Jason, I'm KC5HWB. If this is your first time here, please click on the subscribe button below so that you can keep up with all the videos that we put on this channel that talks about anything and everything that's new in amateur radio. Today I get to talk to Joe Ayers and Darryl Quinn, both from the AREDN developer team, about the new version of AREDN firmware that just dropped a few weeks ago, version 3.18.9. something something something. We talk about that later on. But 3.18 is the core version that's been upgraded from the last version that was out, and there's been a lot of changes, a lot of new hardware that's been added, a lot of updates that have been added as well, and we get to talk about them today. Stay tuned on this channel for a lot more episodes coming up with AREDN and mesh networking here on this channel. Hope you enjoy the episode. So we're here with Darryl and Joe from the AREDN developer team, and we're going to talk about my dog's up on the counter right now. Hey, get down! Get down! So we're going to talk about AREDN mesh firmware version 3.18, if I have that correctly. 3.18.9.0. Okay, so there was a big announcement come out a week or two ago about new updates, new firmware, and you guys are following the Linux release dates now, or similar to the Linux release dates now, where you're releasing in October and again in April. So you've got a
exactly following through that community and that stream of feeds. As you know, there's thousands of individuals that contribute to the Linux platform. And what we're really slaving after is the OpenWRT community that we're based on top of. So OpenWRT does a major release each year. They did one in June. They're 18.6, and 18 is the year, and 6 is the month. And they've already, that was a .0 that they did. It actually came out like August time frame, and they've already come out with a point release in a .1. And so we'll follow off of that stream, and within a couple of months after that, we released ours. So ours is 3.18.9.0. So 3's our mesh node version compatibility. So any firmware that starts with the 3 is compatible with one another. 18's the year, 9's the month, and then 0's the major, with some point releases after that.
Okay. And major updates to this are the fact that you've added a lot more devices, including Ubiquiti devices, TP-Link, and a new one called Mikrotik. Mikrotik, do I have that right? Okay.
That's right.
So a new one called Mikrotik, which is another brand of manufacturer that makes air router type devices, and also devices that kind of look like the Rocket device from Ubiquiti, which
Mikrotik makes a ton of devices. I mean, if you look at their catalog, it's just incredibly massive. But they do, they are in the business for building firmware, building hardware for internet service providers and customer premise or CDP equipment. Exactly what Ubiquiti,
there it is, right there.
Most of the Ubiquiti line.
Right here. So here's the BaseBox 5, the 5 gigahertz device. It's also the BaseBox 2 that's supported in the 3.18.9.0 release. So it's a tower device. You have one Cat5 that goes up the tower to feed it and all the data connections from it. And this is in comparison to the Rocket
from Ubiquiti.
These are our primary nodes for tower sites, so you can adapt the appropriate antenna on it that you want. This one's a failed one. I pulled off a tower not too long
ago. And the two SMA connectors on the top are dual polarization, is that correct?
So 802.11n can have, the spec can have up to 4 antennas. We couldn't use that on long distance links, but for we use 2 vertical and horizontal polarized antennas, so it can double up the data and send simultaneously on each polarization.
Yeah. So one vertical, one horizontal.
Right.
Total of 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit bigger, and you can get little adapter plates so it will fit on the Ubiquiti rocket dish or other Ubiquiti antennas, so that this will snap into there as well.
Some of the big advantages of the Mikrotik line, particularly like that base box, is they've got tons of memory on them. So 64 is kind of their minimum for most of their devices. 64 megs. A little bit faster processors, all the chipsets and everything that we need, or they support in their devices. So it's really they're really good devices.
And
in
really,
fact, that base box, I think, is where the rocket there on the in Joe's left hand is a 600 milliwatt device. This base box is a
1 watt, full 1 watt
device.
Okay. Yeah. I remember you guys saying that the other night. So good. And what's the base box? I mean, do you what's it run? And most of my Ubiquiti stuff I've just bought on Amazon. I don't buy from a dealer or something. So are the Mikrotik devices available on Amazon, and what do they run for that base box that Joe's got there?
Yeah, they're approximately in the same ballpark in pricing and same availability on Amazon.com and of course other dealers.
Yeah.
So this one, the base boxes are $80-$90 type range. Same as the rockets. So very, very comparable, with just a little bit higher transmit power on them as well. But one of the models that we're really excited about is this HAP Lite model. So here's a model that if you put in your shack or you use it field day or a mobile station, you don't need another switch like you would with other devices, because it already comes pre-configured. So you could have an internet gateway in this port. You could put in these 3 ports in the middle, cameras, VoIP phones, laptops, and other devices. And then here is what we call DTD link. So another mesh node could go on here, and that would be like a 1-foot spot dish that would go up and connect your site or your QTH into the local cell coverage, tower site coverage area. So it does everything in this box. And in addition, it's a mesh node. It has 2 gigahertz on it. And so you could have local mesh nodes of other groups that are coming into the location and connecting in directly to this. And it has 5 gigahertz wireless as well.
It's dual band.
So we could have an access point into the mesh, so that cell phones and tablets and other laptops that are at this location and then in the area can connect in and get onto the mesh. So it's an all-in-one, and PoE, so that it feeds. You only need 1 power supply, so it keeps everything very clean in the packaging. 1 power supply, it feeds the power right out, going to a node that does your uplink to the coverage area. So we're really excited about this. Very small packaging, very low power, very clean on the connections, and you don't have to be an IT guru to get it configured. You just got to get the firmware on there, and then it does it.
Okay, now.
Yeah, and it's got 64 megs of memory in it, so it's got plenty of memory for what we need, and it's it runs in the $45
Yeah,
range.
they're incredibly reasonably priced. Okay, so you talked about firmware, and since we talked the other night about this, go ahead and explain how the firmware is loaded onto one of those devices, and the project that you guys are working on to get that done.
Okay,
so it's not just a regular bin file flashed to the device like a Ubiquiti device, which I thought was pretty easy myself. But
yeah, Ubiquiti, they're making some changes in their firmware to make it. It makes it a little harder for us. So I think gone are the days of loading up the Ubiquiti AirOS web interface and loading AREDN firmware from there. What you have to do is revert to what we call the TFTP mode install, where there's a process where you hold a button down, you configure a few things on your computer, and then you can basically push the firmware into that device. Joe, you can talk about the Mikrotik approach. Is a little bit reverse of that.
That's right. So with Ubiquiti, your laptop's the client and the device is the TFTP server. With Mikrotik, they reverse that, turn it upside down, so that you have to configure a TFTP server, which is a little more complicated process. You have to have a boot P server, you have to have a DHCP server and a TFTP server all set up and configured. And then the Mikrotik device, then when you hold the reset button, it's looking to reach out, get an IP address, and then looking to get information about where to boot from, and then do a TFT from that server to get it. So what we're doing is that gets a little more sophisticated from what everyone should be getting into to try to load these devices. You can't do it from the Mikrotik operating system, Router OS. You can't do it from there. They don't have a mechanism to upload third-party firmware. So what we're doing, and a side note here that we can come back to later is all of the other developers that and tech things we've done to get other contributors to project. But there's another a contributor that is building this for us, and LT, and LT is packaging up on Raspberry Pis, so that all of the complexity of loading the firmware into Mikrotik devices is all done by one of these devices. You would just download an image on an SD card, plug it into here. You would plug the network cable from here into the Mikrotik device, and then you connect to it with your laptop, bring up the web page that comes from the Raspberry Pi, and it'll just walk you through the steps. Plug the cable into the Mikrotik in this port, push this button for so long, check these lights when they're done, and when it walks you through the process with pictures of the devices and the cables, and it's all done, it brings you right into the settings of the node in AREDN, and allows you to configure it so that it just walks you through the process.
And being able to have all the firmware downloaded prior to you going out maybe in the field and doing an installation or something like that. You could download all of that onto that device, onto that Raspberry Pi, so you could do a truly a field-based install from that one device.
So you could download firmware for multiple devices, and then have
you could download everything, and it would have it all,
and then take it out to the field, and people bring up their own devices, and they've got three or four different manufacturers, and who knows how many models, and you could load it all from the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, LT K6 RUN, by the way, his initial approach to this will be to solve the issue that we have with Mikrotik, because it's so different than some of our other devices. So the initial release, I think, will be for Mikrotik only, but we do foresee, the ability to use that same platform to do things like a Ubiquiti install, a TP-Link install, basically all the devices that we currently support.
You just select, this is the device I have, and it'll walk you through and have all the handshaking and IT configurations of IP addresses, and just take care of that all for you.
A future loading platform that's meant for Mikrotik today, but will eventually cover all AREDN supported devices sometime in the future. Good. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
we want to make that. I mean, we've heard from our audience, the install process is sometimes can be a little more difficult, like which firmware do I need, that sort of thing. So we're trying to address those and really simplify and make that process much easier.
Okay. I get a lot of the guys comment on my channel about how difficult it is to run hotspots, and I'm like, Linux devices scare some people, and I understand that. That's fine. I'm more of a Linux guy than anything else, and I understand that. But I'm like, you're supposed to be a ham radio operator. The point of ham radio is to just get in there and see how you can break it, right? So, experimentation. That's right. So, but I mean, that's good. It's good that you guys are doing that and making it easier, just so people can put up mesh nodes and get on the network, and then once you have that up and going, then you can experiment about what you can do with IP cams and tunneling servers and internet connections and all the other stuff you can do on an IP connected network. So that'd be fun to do.
It's kind of a very similar mantra that, you know, when we teach, licensing
Right.
classes around here, we're like, we're just teaching you to get the license, and then you can learn
Exactly.
what you have in it. So,
Yeah. There's
approach.
it. Go ahead.
So with Mikrotik, then there's the base box 2, the base box 5, so 2 gigahertz,
5 gigahertz,
5
yeah.
gigahertz, tower site type devices, and you'd have to get, you know, matching antennas depending on what
Okay.
kind of coverage or point to point you wanted. And then of course the Mikrotik with the HAP AC light device on it. So we have those 3 to get started, and that, you know, that's the in 3.18.9.0, and there will be more following that of the other devices that we'll add in the future. And then we've added a bunch more TP-Link models into the as well. So some of those there's the CPE line of TP-Link.
It looks like a nano station,
you know,
there.
They look kind of, they look like nano stations. They all have this packaging. This is the CPE 210 and 510 packaging. They're a little bit smaller than the nano stations of Ubiquiti.
Kind of between a nanostation and a nanostation loco.
So they're less powerful than a nano station, but they're not the low power loco.
Yeah, not quite as high gain antennas, but there's also the 520, the CPE 520, and the 220, which are the larger gain antennas that would be more comparable to the nano stations. So those are out there, but each of these CPE 210s and 510s and 520s and 220s, each of them has version 1, version, you know, some of them have 1.1 version, and some are at version 2, and some are starting to come out in version 3, and every one of them is a little bit different. So so of all those revisions that are out there in 3.18.9.0, we've got support for all the 1.0 versions and some of the version 2s and version 1.1s. So we've got quite a, you know, 5 or 6 different versions that are coming out, that have been out, and still working on more. All of this work is done by Andrew, KK4ZUZ. Andrew's in the Houston area nearby by Darryl there.
Oh, he's from Texas. He's got to be smart then, right?
That's right. So Andrew's
right.
That's right. I used to live in Grapevine.
I live in Grapevine now. Okay, good. Okay.
So that a lot of good work done by Andrew, and he's looking at the 610, the CP 610, which is it's like a nano bridge. You know, it's a rectangular shaped spot dish.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so there'll just be more hardware revs of those, and more expansion into the TP-Link line as well. So.
And I think one of the other really big things that we sometimes forget, especially, you know, being developer and, you know, testing firmware over the last 2 years since our 3.16 release, is, you know, there's a ton of Ubiquiti newer generation devices called in the AirMax line called XW hardware devices. There was only like 1 or 2 of those that we supported in 3.16, and pretty much now any new device you get from Ubiquiti, if it's an AirMax device, it's going to be an XM.
Right, the XMs, yeah.
So we really didn't have support for, you know, a very large number of these devices that people were buying and coming out with in 3.16, but with the move to 3.18.9.0, we kind of got a lot of that stuff, I'll say, for free. We still had to do a little bit of work on our end, but a lot of that came for free because we're on the latest release of OpenWRT. Which we were on the 3.16 release was 4 years old on OpenWRT. I think that really, so there's
Linux and OpenWRT 4-year-old releases, which no one patches anymore. It's essentially obsolete in the Linux communities. So
literally thousands of patches, right, that we weren't able to take advantage of in 3.16, but when we got to the 3.19 or 3.18 platform, then, you know, we're able to leverage those moving forward. We should get to, you know, keep those patches up much quicker because of that.
So today, if you go out and buy a Rocket, it's going to be an XW device and does not have support in 3.16.
Okay.
We're just seeing right now, and we just have a successful load of images on a Bullet M2 that's they're shipping now. That's an XW, and it's we'll be able to bring that under support and cover that line in in a successive release of 3.18.9, probably in the .1 release. But that's being tested right now, and so the NanoStation M2s that are coming out, there was no support on XWs. They're only supported now. So rockets, bullets, nanostations, and are the kind of the mainstay devices in this AirMax Ubiquity, and they're only supported in 3.18.9. So nowadays.
So what is the XW exactly? I know. So what is the difference between the XW and the regular the previous AirMax device?
The difference is XM is the Athros 92XX series chipset.
It's a different chipset.
And XW is the AR93 XX.
So it's a hardware revision.
Right.
Yeah.
Like TP-Link we were talking about, they have a version 1, version 2. Ubiquity just gives them a different nomenclature.
The XM versus XW, they called it. So
most of them physically look identical, so you really can't tell.
It's just internal hardware. Right. Okay. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So now the key is that all of these newer devices, all the XWs, and all of the TP-Link and Mikrotik, all these devices that you buy today are for the most part going to be 64 meg of RAM, and that's rather significant because, in 4 years since the Linux kernel came out and OpenWRT, the newer releases were doing more and more, and they're getting a little bit bigger footprint, and so while we can load AREDN 3.18.9.0 on 32 meg devices, we're at the ceiling of memory on those devices, and it can be problematic. You can't load add-on packages without having risks that it might start becoming unstable because there's just not enough physical memory to do all these extra things anymore. And so we're definitely recommending that anyone that's out buying new hardware, be sure to look at the specs of that hardware and make sure it's 64 meg RAM device or more that you're purchasing. There you can get very cheap nowadays, $30 and $40 32 meg devices off of eBay, and they do work well. It's just that all of the new features that we're putting out are just not going to fit on these 32 meg devices, and so you would be limited. And in some situations where they want to take a 32 meg and put tunnels on it or mesh chat or other type of capabilities, they'll have to go back to that older Linux kernel in
the 3.16
2.0 release that we have. To run on those 32 meg devices if they're beginning to have issues because of the limited
okay, so you bring up a point that something clicked in my head just then. If someone's running a 3.16 device and say it's up on a tower somewhere they can't readily get to it, and then devices around them load the 3.18 firmware, will they talk to one another?
Yeah, so remember the version 3.
Okay, everything version 3.
Protocol.
The protocol version is compatible.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
So and we don't want to break that would be rather painful, and so we're gonna have 3. something releases as long as we possibly can. But it's someday we may want to improve the routing algorithm, or it may need something to scale better, or there's other reasons. So it at some point it'll happen, but we're not motivated to change it anytime soon.
Okay. Good.
And it's still compatible with the even the older BBHN Linksys devices as well. Their release was like 3. tabs.
3.1 or something.
3.1, yeah, is a part of that when that
Okay.
got released, and that's still compatible. So there's still a 3 on the beginning of it.
As long as you're on common channel.
Yes,
right?
yes,
So,
and the AREDN still supports the channels negative
part
1 and 2,
97.
correct? Okay.
That's right, which you can't do with the really old
Right,
Nexus
correct.
hardware. So
Yeah.
you're very limited.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the main advantage addition, whatever, to the new 3.18 firmware is the support of the greater number of devices, both in Ubiquiti, TP-Link, and now with Mikrotik.
Yeah, and so we might talk about the new approach we're taking to how we do development. So yeah, we might talk about the approach that we've taken and how we're doing development and the releases coming out and contributors that are able to join in the fun. What we're doing is following suit from the Linux community and particularly OpenWRT in their release cycles. The idea is there's a free stream of all this patches and security fixes and improvements as the Linux community pushes those through with thousands and thousands of people that are part of that contribution and stream coming in. And other groups like OSR, that's the routing protocol, is a group that contributes that feeds into that stream and in all the hundreds and thousands of packages that exist on top of the Linux kernel that we can benefit from. So OpenWRT does a major release each year. They did their 18.6, so 2018 June,
yeah, six being the month.
.0, and they're already planning a January release, so it would be their 19.1, maybe .2, depending on how they when they get it out. So they're already planning on the major release for 2019. Then they do, after a major release, point releases in the year to continue improvements and patches. So they're already at the 18.6.0, and then they did a .1, which is what we released on, was their .1 release. They're already planning on a .2 in December timeframe. So we would look to follow suit to just pass that value straight on to our community and do a point release just back to back right behind that, get all the bug fixes and patches and everything into it. And then with a major release in 2019, the same thing. And in the meantime, we're just ongoing. We're just adding features every day. They come in, and when that release is ready to go, whatever features we have ready, boom, it all comes together and goes out in that timeline. The idea being just continual incremental improvements.
Right.
That are going out there.
Right.
And two, that really allows us, the AREDN developers, to really focus on what makes AREDN for ham MCOM situations and for ham operators. We know that space very, very well, so we can leverage the space, the knowledge of Linux developers, OpenWRT developers, and we apply our ham radio expertise and make it what AREDN operators need.
We don't have to spend time on the platform of everything underneath it and focus all our effort and energy on what's of value to the ham radio community.
Okay.
So we can be very efficient, and it's just a constant moving forward, and you see that with like Windows, Microsoft Windows, right? There's no big bang Windows releases anymore. It's just this constant stream, just constantly updating, and they don't get it right every time. They pulled back patches in September, and they're distributing to what a billion devices. I'm not sure how big it is nowadays, but they had to pull some patches and whatnot. But that's we want to take those kind of risks to be because we get so much more value in the time frame by continually improving it.
Yeah.
there'll never be a perfect release, and there'll never be, perfect features going out, but rather, Mikrotik, we have the basic device, but we don't have the access point yet configured in it, right? So people can start using it right now. They don't have to wait for that, and then we'll fill in with the access point capability in the next release as it comes out, and that's the idea, right? It's just continually getting those incremental improvements that everyone can benefit from and use, and then we just keep building on it and filling it out and maturing it over time on all of our features.
Yeah, we actually changed kind of the platform development lifecycle approach. We moved to GitHub for our code repository. We really wanted to make that much more visible to people, to really encourage people to contribute, take a look at it. If you see something where you might be able to help, go ahead and do a pull there, do a build, put whatever code you in, build it, and send us a pull request, right? And we'll review those.
And it's git.com/AREDN.
So it's github.com.
Github.com. Okay.
And then the main repository is /AREDN_AR71XX.
AR71XX.
You'll see that if you forget the last part. If you just go to AREDN, it's generally the first one listed there.
Okay. Okay. I'll put that link in the video when I get there. When I get all this put together, I'll put that link in there so that people want to go there, because I know a couple of guys who are DBA type coder guys that I won't say they're smarter than me, but they're a whole lot more patient than I am about coding stuff. So I could do it if I really wanted to. I just have no desire. So
and so in that process, then what we did is we automated the build process to create the images to be essentially a push button build process, right? There's like 4 or 5 steps, from start to finish of downloading the code, doing the build, setting your config of your call sign in it, and completely creating it. So the idea is that we don't want to have like a DBA or a general application developer. There's all kinds of skill sets that could contribute. We don't want all of them to have to become an embedded expert before they can start out. Right. So it's set up in such a way that if you have a particular skill set in doing development, you can get involved very, very quickly to contribute.
Yeah. You don't have to be a DevOps expert to.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And so we have people that there's a guy that's been submitting some code, and he's doing just starting out some basic things, and found, well, we've got some typos in here and some spelling areas and some little code cleanup that we could do, and just starting out with some basic things, and that's awesome, right? That improves it, that gives us benefit, and we can start out going. But we've already in the last few months this year expanded, doubled the size of the team of those that are contributing. We talked about LT K6RUN earlier, and then Andrew, the KK4Z that's doing the TP link. And then we've got, of course, Trevor that's done mesh chat, K7FPV. He did mesh chat and
burst speed, the performance measurement.
Some other type of capability, and contributes into the firmware as well. And then we've got there's another 3, 4, 5 people out there that are kind of in the pipeline that have expressed interest, are starting to look at it and beginning to ask questions and expand the team even more. So
we can't forget Eric, also KG6WXC. He's done the fantastic job with some of the mapping stuff that you see on our website. He's also basically built his own mapping, kind of a crawling software. He's been regularly contributing. He pulled out some of the superfluous packages that we really didn't need in the firmware to try to trim down, so we can really try to make things fit as well as we could within that 32 meg limit. He did some work around that. So I think lots of people getting more involved now, learning, everything from, if they didn't know GitHub, they know it now. They know how to do pull requests and manage code that way.
Yeah.
So a lot of good learning all around.
Good. Excellent. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of progress being made at that. I mean, it's definitely not a project that you guys put up there and said, okay, here you go, and then walked away from it. So there's a lot of progress being made. And
leaps and bounds.
Yes.
We had about a 2-year period from the 3.16 release to this 3.18 major release that we didn't really release anything publicly. We were still doing nightly builds and things like that, but even some of that had slowed down quite dramatically before we made the shift to really focus and kind of change the platform and go to the 3.18 new approach. And I think we're getting tons of benefit out of that. We're still doing nightly builds, so people can still go look at the nightly build directory whenever we do have commits that go in or merges that go into the repo. That night they'll build, they can download it the next day and put it on a node and give us feedback on it.
Right. And it's
great interaction on that. Early feedback from the community. It helps us test and get it right. And drawing in more and more people to help us do more and more things to move out there.
That's one of the other things that we also moved to GitHub was kind of what we call the issue tracker, right? So when people do have problems, it's now all within GitHub. That their entire platform kind of helps manage that for us for everything from, hey, this doesn't seem to work right, or hey, this sure would be a nice new feature. People can go in and submit those, and we review those as a team. And anyone who's on the team that wants to, start picking those off and start developing or building new features or fixes based on those can go off and try it.
Good. Yeah. And the new let me plug your website here real quick. It's ardenmesh.org. And you guys have, due to some changes that were made, I'll just put it that way. I'll put it changes. About if you have any questions on the changes, go watch the Ham Radio Now episode with Randy and Andre, where he talks about the split that was done between, what was the old website? Was it arden.org or .com?
Yeah, it was arden.org.
Arden.org, and now it's ardenmesh.org. So ardenmesh.org is where all the new stuff is. And you guys have a nonprofit now, so you can so people can go in there and they can donate to the project if they want to. And since it's a nonprofit, it's a tax write-off depending on how you do it. And people can support financially the project as well. So that's
right. We've tried to make it pretty easy. We're using PayPal for donation support.
Okay.
There's a donate button in the upper right of the webpage at ardenmesh.org. You can go there. It takes you directly to the link to the PayPal donation page. You can make it a recurring donation if you want, or just anything.
One-time thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and that goes towards getting devices like this so that we can get it support.
Test devices.
Half the devices I have, we've either bought out of our own pocket or like this one. A gentleman I've never even met just sent it to me. And,
hey, there you go.
Like 3 of them, and he wanted it under support. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, that's how it's done. That's the ham community helping one another. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Between that, just standard operational costs of running the website and things like that. That's one thing that the ardenmesh.org, it is the exact same software that we were running the website before. So all the forum posts and everything, all the exact same stuff there. So the only thing that really changed was the domain name. Right.
Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Well, hey, I don't want to make it too long because YouTube users they tend to drop off if you make your video too long. Short attention spans and all. And I'm the same way, so I can't complain. But this has been really informative. I know that there's been I'm on your email list. And I got the email that said, hey, some major update. In fact, Darryl, I think you sent it. It's something about major updates made. Arden 3.18 is finally released. Click here for all the different revisions that were made and the new devices that are now supported. So
that was probably either Randy or Andre, or one of the two that sent the email.
Maybe so.
We'll kind of tackle some of the Facebook things. We're also on Facebook. Facebook.com/group/ArdenMesh.
ArdenMesh. Okay.
And also you can find us on Twitter at ArdenMesh.
Okay. Great. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, closing comments. What I would love to do that. I told you this the other night when we did this. I'd love to do this again. We should do like every quarter type thing, say, hey, okay, what's new? What have you tackled this month? What have you accomplished? What are you trying to do that you don't mind sharing with the group to say, hey, we're trying to get this done. We're working on it for 6 months, but it's, been a pain in the butt or whatever. So, there's always that kind of thing. So, where do you see?
Always happy to do it. We did a SoCal Mesh users get together for the whole SoCal region just this past weekend, and one of the things we covered was all of the enhancements that are in the pipeline and what we're working on, and we could turn this into another episode of just talking about the pipeline of features and things that we're doing. So yeah, lots of great things we could cover.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna go grab one of those Mikrotik devices. Oh, well, that's something else I was gonna ask. I mean, your Raspberry Pi image is not ready yet. That's something that you guys are working on. So if I go grab a Mikrotik device today, how do I load the AREDN firmware on it?
Yeah,
right now.
Instructions out there to do that. It just means that you need a Linux, a little bit of skill set to maneuver around in Linux, and you need to install DNS mask, which does all of these servers, the DHCP, BootP, and TFTP, all built in one in that.
Okay.
And just configure that, and then follow the procedure of pushing reset button and going, sticking the cable in the right ports and just following through with it. So you can load it. The instructions are there. Several people have done it. You just have to have some general knowledge of Linux and be fairly fluent in maneuvering around to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's if you go to the AREDNmesh.org website, it's on the downloads link up at the top. There's a section for Ubiquiti, there's a section for TP-Link, and a new section for Mikrotik, and there's a link there on kind of the installation instructions. It's about, 20, 30 steps long currently. Again, we hope to get that down to few button pushes with the Raspberry Pi solution.
Well, I think that'd be a fun episode on the show to say, okay, here's how you do it right now. And then once the new process comes out with the Raspberry Pi image and whatnot, and we can do another Raspberry Pi. I was telling you guys the other night, I went to Tapper in September, and there were a lot of different forum topics on hundreds of things, well, not hundreds, dozens of things to do with Raspberry Pis and whatnot. So the first guy who talks about it, he gets up there and he says, okay, who has 10 Raspberry Pis? Who has 20? Who has 30? I think the guy who had the most had like 37. And then he's like, okay, how many are still in a box? More than 10, more than 20. And yeah, the guy who had 37 had like 20 still in a box somewhere in the closet. He's like buying them because he's like, oh, hey, there's a good price. Click, and he put it in the closet somewhere. So
I was going to give the guy benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's building a cluster or something.
Well, you never know. You never know. Joe, it was you the other night that was saying that you have a sprinkler controller on your Raspberry Pi, wasn't it? Or was it you, Darryl?
I'm the sprinkler controller.
Oh, you're the guy. You're okay.
I have a fish tank that automatically levels the water, salt water.
That's right. Oh, your fish tank on your right, my left over there. Your light is off, by the way. It's those fish are in the dark.
Yeah. My power supply just burned out on.
Oh, that's no good.
So I've got one on order. So yeah. They're in the dark right now.
They're in the dark.
Okay. My Raspberry Pi is actually is a mesh node on the SoCal Mesh.
Right.
And it's the controller for my fish tank, so I can always get access to it wherever I'm at on the mesh.
Just log in from the mesh and control your fish tank.
And I've got running open sprinkler Pi for my.
There you go.
I don't really need sprinklers in South Texas at this time.
Shoot, not this time of year. We don't. I'm actually
in a little bit.
I don't know, Darryl. I don't know if you heard it. Like 20 minutes ago, I heard my phone start to beep with like a severe weather alert. So. Yep. It's been I've been down here in Galveston since Sunday, and it's rained in North Texas.
Seen sunshine yet? Right?
I know it, yeah, and it's been raining in North Texas for like 3 weeks. It clears up Friday night. Saturday we had an awesome day. It was perfect weather outside in Dallas-Fort Worth area. On Saturday we were outside doing stuff. Sunday we get up in the morning, perfect weather, get in the car, drive down here to Galveston, and it's been storming ever since. So I think it's still perfect weather in Dallas, Texas right now. So, yep. But okay, guys. Well, thank you very much again. Appreciate your time. Would really like to get. Keep this rolling. I'll contact you guys in 3 or 4 months. We can do this again, see what's new, see what kind of new projects you're tackling. I'd like to do some of my own. I think I told you the other night, I've got 2 or 3 nanostation nodes that I've got in various places, but I haven't updated to the 3.18 yet. So I'll do that and show the different devices, and then pick up some new devices. So, now, I've only got Ubiquiti. I've never tried the TP-Link hardware myself. I've always done the Ubiquiti. I've got bullets, I've got nanostations, and I've got I don't have a rocket myself, but one of the clubs I'm a member of, they have a rocket up on top of a water tower in Hurst, Texas. And they've got the big round 4-foot vertical antenna. That's a dual polarized antenna. It makes it really expensive that way, but it's a fantastic system. So I'd like to do some experimentation with TP-Link, and now obviously the new Mikrotik hardware as well. So that'd be some really good information on the show, I think.
Yeah, we've got some of those rockets with the Omni directional dual polarity rocket.
Yes.
Omnis on some of our towers here in Montgomery County, and I think one of them is at about 450 feet or so. And we actually heard a few months back, I think we've got some tropoducting or some skip going on or something. We actually heard a node in Roston.
In Roston, yeah.
Dallas there.
I'll have to put the...
It wasn't quite enough to make a good connection, but we were actually getting beacons, and I was able to look up the IP. I'm like, yep, that node's in Dallas, so that's a pretty good hike down to...
Yeah, I was telling you that Roston's actually closer to the Oklahoma border than it is to downtown Dallas, but that's a 2,000-foot tower, and we've got a DMR repeater up there that's at like 1,700 or 1,750 feet. I'm not sure exactly how tall the mesh node is. I think it's around 1,800 feet, something like. But it's really cool because the DECARA, Denton County Area Radio Association, DCARA is what they call themselves, W5NGU. They've got a link where you can click on a live stream over the internet, and you can see it. And it's cool because you click on the live stream, that's the IP camera on top of that tower, and you're looking down at the clouds. And you can see, and they do time lapses, and you see the clouds moving through it, like, it's like a 1-minute video that covers an hour, right? This is a time lapse, and you're like, I'm looking down at the clouds right now. It's really wild. It's like, man, that tower is just awesome. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll find that link and send it to you guys where you can see it. I think they transmit that over the mesh too, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it's on the internet, and anybody can see it on the internet, so it's fun to watch. But great. Well, thanks very much, guys. I'll let you go. Yeah, we've been going we started at 9, but we didn't get an hour's worth of video, but that's okay. We'll get this edited and whatnot. So thanks for your time. This is very interesting information. I know a lot of people, every time I put up an AREDN video, I get a lot of hits on it. I get a lot of people asking about it, and I get a lot of, hopefully I get a lot of people that are redirected to your website to look and see what you're doing and joining the fun with mesh networking.
Yeah, we'd love to encourage your users who watch the show and comment on your video and let us know what you're looking for out of mesh networking if you've done it before. Or we're always open to suggestions and ideas and feedback.
Great. Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
Bye now.
Okay, bye.